From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi alongside Corey Clark here in the Midtown offices, Tallahassee, Florida. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source. Use a promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to WarChant.com. Corey, you know what is even better than having real good food right around the corner when there's a Zaxby's within a mile of your house?
I don't quite follow the question, but no. The answer is no, I don't know.
When it can be delivered to you.
Oh, right, sure.
Folks, if you're in the Tallahassee area, Bite Squad, Uber Eats, all those food delivery services, they service the great Zaxby's locations here in the area.
I've used Uber Eats for Zaxby's.
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you get? Salad?
I mean, come on, don't ask. Yeah.
Cobb salad?
Yeah. But Brady got the chicken fingers.
Okay.
So we switched it up a little bit. But, yeah, I went back to the Cobb salad.
Zach sauce?
Of course. Who are you talking to?
Well, I'm just making sure I know Brady. I mean, sometimes.
Well, oh, yeah, I guess it was for Brady. I dumped that on my salad instead of the ranch dressing. I go with just Zach sauce.
Zach sauce on top of Zach sauce.
Yeah.
Zaxby's indescribably good. Stay tuned to us on Friday when we drop the over-under. Again, we'll be giving away to the 5 best responses, or I don't even know how to really say, like the 5 best records of the people who responded to the over-under. Best showings.
Best showings, yeah.
So we did 7 of them. Gene, if you're listening to this, maybe keep it to 5 so I don't have to grade as many papers. But, yeah, a whole bunch of people went 6 of 7. They were the ones that got the vouchers. And then, again, Island Chief was the first one in. He had 5 out of 7. A lot of people did, and that's what we did. So we'll continue to do so. Thanks to our friends at Zaxby's. Again, you'll either get 5 free chicken fingers or a salad for just, just throwing darts at the board, at the wall. See if you can figure out the over-unders. That's on Friday. Later in the week, Thursday, we'll do a Renegade Express. I haven't even posted the thread yet on the Tribal Council. It'll be there now as you guys and gals are listening to this, but as we record this at 7 p.m. in the evening, it's not up there. Drop the ball. Sorry about that,
buddy. I feel like whenever you drop it, some questions are going to come flying in.
Yeah, there we go. It's going to be a lot. Yeah, I think I might have to break my sabbatical, or I don't know the proper word, because I haven't listened to headlines in over a year. And I listen to headlines every single week for years.
But like a smart person would.
Yeah. I didn't want to co-opt Jeff's, thoughts, Ira's thoughts.
Right.
I didn't want to hear you talk smack about me on another show.
Sure, that's fair.
So, be nice.
How do you know I do that if you don't listen?
Well, I figured as much.
Well, you're a smart guy.
You got a vent.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by me. So, I'll check that out because I want to hear what you guys are going to talk about.
I can't wait. Can't wait to record it and see what we say. I'm sure it'll be uplifting. Right. A lot of positive thoughts.
We spoke to Willie on Monday. We'll get to speak to Kendall, we assume, later today, Tuesday, as you're listening to this, folks, and selected offensive players. I guess first off, what I want to talk about, Corey, is I remember what it was like still being a fan of this team. Not that I'm no longer a fan, but, my employment involves me having to cover this team in an objective manner as a professional.
Sure.
So I'm not as crazy about, I don't ride and die with the Noles the way I used to. Still want to see him do good, obviously, do well. Was really happy to see Cam do well on Saturday night. Part of me just, Ira looked at me at one point in the press box. Are you all right? I'm like, dude, they can't lose this. I'm like, they don't. Please don't lose this. So I get people's frustration, obviously, with the way the team is playing, and then also to a certain degree they want answers. And they want us to ask the questions to get the answers as to how this team is going to get fixed and how it's going to get fixed quickly. It's week 2, man. They've got, a lot more time here.
10 more games.
10 more games, 12 more weeks of
maybe
practicing
11.
everything.
Maybe 11 more games. Yeah. Or 12.
And, Ira said it before, Gene said it before on the boards, I think. These aren't interrogations. These aren't, they're not interrogations. I mean, these aren't arraignments. These aren't depositions. Willie's not up there on the stand testifying.
Right.
He didn't swear, no oath going up there. And, we're trying to figure out, what's wrong with the defense? What are you seeing with the defense? What are you going to do? And right now, it's just we're going to evaluate everything. We're evaluating this. We're evaluating that. there's nothing we can really ask Willie to give folks. I don't know if people want a pound of flesh or what they want. And this isn't me criticizing the fans. Like I get it. I remember in 2017 listening to the weekly press conferences. I'm like, man, somebody ask him what the hell is going on. Somebody ask him, are you staying or not? And I get it. This isn't, these aren't people. We're not scared. We're not soft.
I guess my answer to that, again, because I was in those press conferences, and I don't think I ever asked it like that. But of course, he was asked different ways about Texas A&M being out there. The question is always the same. Or the answer was always the same.
Not talking about job.
Yeah, I don't talk about jobs. I'm happy at Florida State. So I can sit there and say, okay, you say you're happy at Florida State, but are you going to A&M, Jimbo? Really?
Right.
Corey? I don't talk about jobs. I mean, it could just go on until he walks away. Like I could keep doing it. We know what those answers are going to be. He was asked even on Monday about potential staff changes. When do you monitor that? When do you decide to do that? He completely skirted it. Didn't even talk about it. Instead, went to the personnel changes on the actual roster on the 2 deep, and that was, maybe the only illuminating thing from the press conference. And I don't know how illuminating it really was they are going to make some personnel changes. It seems like that seemed to be what he was hinting at. I don't know what they're going to be. I assume it won't matter, but they are going to try something different with the personnel changes.
But
I think,
right. And I want to get to that here in a minute, but. Like we can't ask him anything. There's no. We can ask him,
are you going to resign? Do you want to resign? Why would we do that?
Right.
So then he hates us forever. Of course he's not going to resign. It's just there's just no.
Why is Harlan still the coach? Like these aren't natural questions you're asking. These sort of things. There is still a bit of decorum in this.
Well, but those are also you're not. If you thought you were going to get a real answer, you'd ask it. But also those are questions that down the line, if it continues. Like, are you thinking about you don't ask it like, why are you still employing Harlan Barnett? But you can ask it, and it might be asked Saturday night, depending on how that game goes. If Bryce Perkins goes all Lamar Jackson, it might be asked Saturday night. Are you thinking about making any changes? Would you think about making a change midseason to your staff? And if so, what do you think that would accomplish? What would that help? At least get them on the record talking about that. And I think after Game 3, if it goes like we think it's going to go, that's a more than fair question. Certainly Game 6 or 7, that's a more than fair question. Will it matter? No. It won't. I don't think firing Harlan Barnett will make much difference at all. I think they ruined this thing defensively in the spring and in August. They went from a 3-4. They said they're going to be a 3-4. I don't believe that was Harlan Barnett's idea. He's never coached it. Why would he then suggest it? I think he was told to run a 3-4. They did it in the spring, right? Didn't they do that in the spring? Yep. Mm-hmm. At least a little bit, but a good portion. And then it looked to us, our untrained eyes, that most of August was a 3-4. Mm-hmm. Then after one awful week, because he hired a defensive coordinator that doesn't run that, and you told him to run it, it looked like they switched more back to a more conventional 4-3. But that's something they haven't practiced. And now what are they going to do moving forward? Do they is it odd days you do the 4-3 and then even days you do the 3-4? Right. They're not good enough to be multiple. They're just not. I know every defense wants to be multiple. They need to find one thing that they do well and just hang their hat on it and say, okay, this is what we do really well. We're not going to practice any of that other stuff. If the team figures out that we can't cover it, okay, we're in trouble. But we're in trouble either way. At least let's try to perfect something. And they have perfected nothing. And, most of that blame, I guess, is on Harlan. But if he didn't want to run a 3-4, if he's never coached a 3-4, you didn't hire him to run a 3-4. You brought him here to run the defense that he ran at Michigan State or co-ran at Michigan State. Then all of a sudden, after one bad year, you flip it. Mainly, I think a lot of that had to do with the personnel on your team. You flip it to a 3-4, and then you expect – I wouldn't say great results. You expect average results. This has been a debacle, and that's on Barnett. You can still learn how to coach a 3-4 and do it better than this. I'm not taking any responsibility, absolving him at all. But there's the head coach that decides these things, and so ultimately it's Willie Taggart's fault that the defense is so bad. What's he going to do to fix it?
See, what I wanted to ask him was just kind of.
Why didn't you? You were there. You didn't, Mike's.
Well, this is what I want to explain.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you're going to get it. I just didn't know. The question is, why did they do this? And why have they scrapped it so quickly? But you can't ask it in those sort of tones and terms. So what I was thinking about saying was, basically, and I might even ask Harlan this when we get to speak to on Wednesday, hopefully, or even when we get to speak to Willie on Thursday, but just when you have the conversation to do this, what is the apprehension? What are the anxieties when you talk about doing this?
Right.
But then, we're like, well, they're not planning for it to not work. We're gonna do 3-4, but maybe it's gonna go bad. They're not thinking that way. They're looking at the roster, which to this point now, we have to start getting into a certain point here where this whole concept of we're doing this to get the 11 best guys on the field. Well, it was what I was mentioning earlier. Like who's on the field in the 3-4 that wasn't going to be on the field in the 4-3. And they haven't really even made that. By the way, ESPN's Monday Night Football graphics look terrible. What is that at the bottom? It's like a cartoon. Get it together. But that's the thing. We're going to get the 11 best guys on the field. Was there a big difference in who you saw on the field against ULM as opposed to who was in the game versus Boise when they were playing primarily 3-4 and they went to the 4-3? No. That's the thing. Nothing changed.
It's basically
personnel-wise.
Kendo, put your hand in the dirt as opposed to standing up. Or Janaris, same thing.
So it's just been bizarre, but I don't know how to elicit a real introspective answer from one of those guys in terms of this was a plan to do this. Was there any, what are the apprehensions when you talk about doing this? If Gene is talking about we're going to switch, I don't know, the web host of warchant.com, you're obviously talking about, well, there's going to probably be some downtime. We haven't worked with these guys before. What if we can't? There any change you make in business or in your life, man, there's a risk of things going wrong. And did they not see any of this potentially happening? And what has gotten better since and people are like, well, you want them to go back to the 4-3. Look how they looked in the 4-3 last season. Point taken.
Sure.
Nothing got better. How does nothing get better when you change schematics, when you have an entire offseason to implement things? Fine, the players are not good enough. But then you have to find a way to put them in certain positions to limit things. Just limit these teams. Don't let them hang 38 on you in regulation. ULM Monroe. Monroe.
One of the big, I don't know, just my biggest problems with Charles Kelly's defense is, and the 14 one was played well below its ability for sure. The 15 one was good. It had Jalen on it. Derwin was a freshman. That helped. But it was good. DeMarcus Walker. Those 3 nice pieces.
Sweat
was on that team, but I don't know how much of an impact he made.
That was his quasi-redshirt, I think.
But that was a good defense. Good to very good. They didn't play well in the bowl game, but they were a good defense. 16, again, reverted back to a little bit of madness. They got better as the season went on, but still. But my biggest complaint with the Charles Kelly's defense is there didn't seem to be any attitude other than the Ramsey year. Those guys flew up and just hit everything. They played with reckless abandon, and I know that's a cliched term, but they did. Even if they went the wrong way, they were crushing folks, and they were running really fast in the wrong direction. When I look at this team overall, defense specifically, but really the team overall, there's just no reckless abandon. It's like they're just punching in they're just punching their punch cards at work. Clocking in, okay, I got to go do this. Let's go through the motions. I'm supposed to be here. I'm not going to probably be there most of the time. But even if I get there, I'm not going to be real angry about it. I'm not going to play fast and physical. I'm going to be soft. Again, I don't like using that word. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be tough.
Aggressive.
I'm not going to be aggressive. And there's just no aggression.
But his whole thing is fast, physical, aggressive.
There's none of it.
They don't do anything.
There's none of it. Harlan Barnett played like a wild man when he was at Michigan State and in the NFL. His nickname was the hit stick.
Boomstick, I think.
Boomstick, whatever. Something with a stick where he was laying the boom or laying the hits. It was a cool nickname, whatever it is. Michigan State fans still talk about that guy. He had a hit against Notre Dame, which is like their Stanford Samuels against who was it? The Miami running back.
Bang
it was
Stick.
Roscoe Parrish.
Bang
He was
Stick.
Bang Stick.
Wow. Even better. Da Bang Stick.
So he had a hit that's one of their all-time classic hits. He was a ferocious football player. Where is it? Why can't these guys be ferocious? I don't care. They're not any good. We get it. Why can't they just play ferociously? And that doesn't mean when the play's over to try to rip somebody's helmet off. Rip the helmet off in the middle of the play when it matters.
Well, Emmett Rice did. Throwing
sure,
clotheslines
yeah, that's
like
right. And he didn't get a penalty.
Jack Tatum.
There you go, Eraser.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. But I want to see that stuff, man. I want to see if you're going to be a bad defense anyway, where this one certainly is. At least be a defense that fans can look at and say, "Man, they're trying hard. Holy moly, do those guys play hard? They come and hit you. They're going to give up 480 yards a game, but they come and hit you." This team is just like, "Oh, let me gently lay you down. Let me get out of your way if you're falling down."
Watch the touchdown, folks. That Monroe
the
scores in overtime.
the overtime touchdown. It's just that's any. I mean, Marvin Jones, if he was dead, would be rolling over in his grave watching that. Ron Simmons. Well, did Ron Simmons pass away?
No, he's still with us.
Okay,
sure.
well, that would have been really bad.
I think Paul McGowan might not be with us any longer.
Okay, 87. But did he pass away, Paul McGowan?
I think.
Oh, you're gonna have to look that up now. Come on, man. You can't just be throwing butt kiss of winners. I should know that. I apologize if he did, and I apologize if he didn't. That I don't know that. But that's not what this program was founded on. Was just lack of toughness and aggression on defense, man. Mickey Andrews, that's all he preached. And then you look at these guys, and Louisiana Monroe's knocking them off the ball. They're running right over them. They're laughing at them as they score another touchdown, and I saw that on the field. That's embarrassing.
Paul McGowan is still with us. He's actually a firefighter, I think, in Winter Park. Sorry, Paul.
That was weird. I was like, okay, well.
That's going to get it out.
Oh, come on, man.
Effort is something that doesn't really need to be coached, though, right? Like, I mean, don't you have to, it's a pride thing?
Sure.
Right? Or I don't.
I mean, some of it is a talent. It is a talent like a DeMarcus Walker. I was going to say Davey Pollock from 15 years ago, but I'm not using that nonsense. I know I'm a Georgia grad, and I got tired of his motor. And Brian Burns. Brian Burns played really hard all season last year. DeMarcus Walker, every game played his heart out.
Mamba mode? Engaged?
Sure, you're right. I mean, they played like that, man. And I just, who does that on this team? Marvin? Sure, but he's a defensive tackle. He can't make an enormous impact at defensive tackle. I don't know that anybody else does. And they just, maybe it all comes down to the back seven. And just those guys just don't, other than Hamsa, those guys just don't come up and hit you. They don't care to. Your cornerbacks don't ever care to turn around and try to play the ball, ever. And what I don't understand about the cornerbacks, again, because I'm bringing this up because Harlan Barnett was a cornerback and played in the NFL. I don't know if he played safety or linebacker in the NFL, but I know he was a corner at Michigan State. Get back on the computer, Aslan. Was that I don't understand if you're going to play 8 yards off a guy, what do the cornerbacks do well? They play 7 yards off the guy and give up a 6-yard out all the time. That happens all the time. They're just on 3rd and 5 they're playing off, and when they're not playing off and they just throw it up down the sideline running man to man, they never ever turn around and make a play. Stanford Samuels almost never makes a play in that instance. He got called for 2 pass interferences. One of them was legit. One of them wasn't. And didn't he get beat for one of the touchdowns in the fourth quarter?
Pretty sure. Yeah, I think so.
Just those receivers go up and make plays, and he's not turning around and making a play. So you let guys catch the ball in front of you, and you let guys catch the ball over the top of you. Get it together, or get off the field. I'm mad again. I'm sorry, folks. This is the last day. I'm not bringing the anger again on Wednesday. This is it.
Harlan T. Barnett. They just list him as a defensive back, but apparently his number was 42,
seems like a safety. Yeah,
like a safety. Hey, let's take a break real quick. Second half of the show is brought to you by Birch Orthodontics. For nearly 20 years, Birch Orthodontics has been providing world-class orthodontic care right here in Tallahassee, and they've been doing it with the kind of down-home customer service that keeps all of their clients smiling. Whether you or your loved one needs braces or Invisalign treatments, Dr. Heather Birch and her staff are trained in all of the latest techniques. And the best part is, they'll include you in every step of the decision-making process. They'll work with you to craft the perfect treatment plan and payment options to suit your needs. So if you're looking for family-friendly orthodontic care in a comfortable, stress-free environment, Birch Orthodontics isn't just your best choice, it's your only choice. Visit www.birchorthodontics.com. That's BURCH orthodontics.com for more information and to set up your free consultation today. Or you can call the office directly at 850-877-1692. 850-877-1692. Welcome back to Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Corey's here as well. Part of the warchant.com family. Check us out, warchant.com. Corey, you're not going to Virginia, are you?
No, absolutely not.
What are you going to do for the game? Are you going to go to a bar?
I'm gonna be in Atlanta, but remember, my house there doesn't get it either. Yeah. So, I'm going to have to find a bar that has it. Might have to find a bar that has it.
Anybody in Tallahassee wants to see Aslan drunk during game, give me a holler. I'll be around.
We should do a drunk post-game podcast afterwards while Ira's having to get all the videos and interviews and write his stories. Me and you can just
do the live stream.
Just you and I talking and commenting. Man, if I had it at my house, I definitely would.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we can't.
But I can't do that at a sports bar. Probably.
Right. Yeah, that'd be kind of weird. All right. So all that said, personnel changes sounds like the one door that Willie was willing to twist the knob on. So. I don't know. I mean, do you think, first off, would you?
Oh, I meant one more point about the ferocity on defense.
Absolutely.
Why doesn't that translate?
What do you mean? Why isn't that translate?
Why can't Barnett get the? And I watched those Michigan State defenses. They played really hard and physical. Why can't that translate, even if you don't know what you're doing?
Well, they practice like pros, Corey. They're not wrapping up. They're not going to take it right to the ground.
Well, but that's to save your offense, which I get that. I mean, I guess you could have 30 scout team dummies. And I don't mean dummies pejoratively. I mean almost literally dummies, just guys that are there to be tackled.
Scout team guys.
Sure, sorry. I meant dummy, football dummy. You know that term.
Pylon guy.
Just guys you tackle to tackle. You could do that, but you can't be bringing Cam Akers to the ground. You only got two real running backs on the team, so yeah, I get that. I get it. But I watch these other. I don't think Georgia's tackling every day. I don't think Alabama and Clemson tackle every day. Is it just they're better? Is that just it? They play harder, they play faster because
the way you practice. I refuse to believe that the players that Alabama and Georgia are recruiting have more aggression in them than the players that Florida State's recruiting. It's the tone, it's the tenor, it's the taking the attitude of your coach, things of that nature.
That's what I was getting at, and I do believe that. And I don't know if it's Willie or Harlan, but Mark Stoops wasn't a guy that was real fiery, but those dudes played really hard for him.
He was pretty
he'd get on. He'd get on the sidelines. I'm talking about in practice when he was instructing. Yeah. He wasn't.
Well, yeah, you can't be a lunatic. Jimbo. You can't do that during practice.
Maybe you could, but whatever they're doing here, whatever the mindset, the mood is here on that side of the ball, it's just not translating to anything.
You can't do it in practice. You have to pick your spots with it, though.
You can't be all the time, or it gets tuned out.
Well,
sure.
And to my point, I try to ask Willie just about. At this point, is it more important to be consistent in your approach, or is it more important to show the players that that things are going to change because we can't keep doing what we're doing? And he just gave us the sort of wholesale answer of the day, which is everything, we're evaluating everything to put our team in the best positions possible to be as successful as we possibly can. You have to change things, but he doesn't seem open to wanting to change the way they're doing things. And he's changed a lot of things, obviously. He's brought in a whole new offensive staff. He's relinquished control of calling plays. Their sort of mindset on returning kicks seems to be a kick-to-kick, week-to-week strategic thing. So, yeah, Willie's not hard-headed by any means. He's open to changing things, but I do wonder – there's just, I go back to the 2005 season when Florida State ended, they started that season off actually pretty strong, like 5-1, maybe 5-0, 6-0. I think they actually lost in Virginia at night. Was the first loss of the season. I think Marquise Higgins.
That kid made those crazy throws. Yeah, that wasn't a good Florida State team, really, as it turned out. But, man, that kid made some crazy third-down throws.
Florida State lost 4 out of the last 5 or 6. I mean, they ended the season really bad, and I think they had injuries were piling up, and it got to a point where they couldn't tackle in practice. And I think they made the ACC championship game, the inaugural one, and it was one of those things where I think maybe Leon and some of the players, went to the coach like, listen, we'll do it. We have to get back to hitting. We have to get back to playing physical in practice so that we can play a lot better than we have played. And they go out and kind of, to a certain degree, shock the world. I mean, I didn't think they were going to beat Virginia Tech in that game. Was that Vic's little brother?
Yeah, Marcus. The great Marcus Vic.
Yeah. So Willie Reed, I think, had a terrific game on special teams. So I mean, they sort of diagnosed what was the problem and they fixed it. They fixed it in the absolute last week possible, but they got the best sort of bang for their buck by winning that conference championship game. Willie, to me, doesn't sound like a guy that he think he needs to change the approach. I think it's trust process or just he doesn't want. I think he's most afraid about losing the team by making things change. I think I'm under the impression he feels if he keeps the tough love, arm around the shoulder. Let's keep doing this. I want these guys to play as hard as they can for me. I want them to play and love each other and not want to let each other down. Man, and it's hard to pivot off of that and be like, screw that. We need to go out there and start playing pissed off, and we need to play for, pride and things of that nature. I don't think I just think he's kind of been in a situation where you can't pivot like that in the middle of a season. I wish you would have known that going into the season that this probably wasn't gonna cut it, practicing the way they are, approaching things the way they are. But here we are. So, to the point of personnel changes, defensively we're thinking that's what he's talking about because that was the focus of the press conference. So what do you do? Is the first thing to marry yourself to either the 3-4 or the 4-3? I mean, I think Jerry Coots or somebody asked made a pretty good point, I think, or was trying to by asking Willie was, you're at the point now where you're trying to, and all teams are multiple to a certain degree, but for you to go 3-4 to the degree you did in week 1 and then go 4-3 in the degree you did in week 2, like you were taking time away from one of those things.
Sure.
So and to your point, they're not good at any. You need to find one thing to be good at. Mm-hmm. So how about don't be so ambitious to be a multiple front. Figure out one of those things, 3-4 or 4-3. But I'm trying to think of like personnel changes. Do you bench Dontavius Jackson? I mean, linebacker I feel is the place where is the most scrutiny. I don't know what you can do defensive back. I don't see Asante or Stanford getting benched or falling behind Kyle Myers or
I feel like
Renardo Green. That's not happening. I think
you play the freshman defensive players. I wouldn't mind seeing Gant in there. I think he'd at least go run and hit you. He might get a. I mean, he played like 9 plays and he's already got a personal foul.
Does he play the same? But he doesn't play the same. Does he play the same spot as Levante and Cyrus Fagan? Like I wouldn't mind to see Brendan Gant over Cyrus Fagan. But
sure,
I
mean, then move Hamps up closer. Do something. But 6
hashtag do something.
Lars Woodby can't. This isn't working. It just doesn't work. This isn't his position. He doesn't see it. He didn't grow up playing this position. He grew up being a superstar defensive back, and all of a sudden he's not Derek Brooks. You know, Derek Brooks was a safety and then came in and was a sensation at linebacker his second year. That's not what's happening here. You're asking him to play a position that, quite frankly, when we talked to him about it, he didn't even seem all that fired up to be playing. No. So if he's not fired up to be playing it, and he's not very good at it, figure out something else to do with him. I think he's a talented kid that could be a positive impact player on defense, certainly positive in the locker room, but don't play him in a position that he's not good at, has no confidence in, and doesn't know what he's looking at.
And doesn't seem to want to be playing in the first place.
So get him somewhere else. Put somebody in there that's played linebacker at least more than 18 months, that's probably played it their whole lives, and is just, man, they're linebackers. They're just dudes that are linebackers, that have been the linebacker their whole life. But Dontavius is one of those, I'm sure. Now, I know he draws the ire of Florida State fans, and for good reason with some of the plays this week, but he's at least a guy that plays it. He's a guy that's played linebacker. So I don't know if you want to bench him. I tell him if he gets another personal foul, he's done for a month, and maybe that'll stop it, especially when we've just taken a lead in the fourth quarter. You can't do that, man. But you've got to get 6 somewhere else. I'm not saying you get him off the field, but you got to get him somewhere else. In 11 and 13, what are we seeing out of them? What are we seeing out of them?
But who's behind them?
Don't know. But we know what they – I feel like we know what they aren't, and it is impact college football players. And I guess we trust the coaches to know best that if they're the best ones they see in practice, they're the best ones running it. But I don't understand. I would just say, Amari Gaynor, you're playing 60 snaps. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to be out of position. You're going to be aggressively out of position.
Right.
But as long as you're aggressively out of position, that's one step. That's a good step. It's not a step in the right direction. It's a really fast step in the wrong direction.
It's doing something.
But at least it's somebody that you can – he's also going to be here next year. He's somebody you can lean on next year to be better and be a good defensive player. And he's got a ceiling. I would play more young guys because what does it matter? If you give up 31 points to Louisiana Monroe in the second half, and you could have given up 38. I mean, if they should have won in overtime.
24. One of them was pick 6.
Oh, that's true. You're right. So 24. You're right. Well, I thought that was in the first half. That pick 6 was that the second? Oh yeah, because it's 24-7. But
cruising.
In Louisiana Monroe had a lot of plays they could have hit in the first half. Yeah. It wasn't like Florida State just overwhelmed them. Right. They panicked because they thought they were playing we're playing Florida State. These guys are going to be everywhere. No, man. This is like playing Troy. And I'm serious. This is like playing the Troy defense, the way they react, the way they run to the ball, the way they diagnose things, the way they just get pushed out of the way. Maybe that might be an insult to Troy. So once they figured out, oh, man, these guys aren't very good at all, at least not collectively, they had no problem marching up and down the field. What is Virginia going to do? What are your hopes for the Florida State defense of Virginia? Maybe to hold them to 35? Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Do you expect them to do better than that?
Well, no, because that's pretty much what they surrendered against
Boise. But they gave up 36 to Boise.
31 to ULM in regulation because of the pick six.
And they gave up 36 to Boise. That included
home.
5 field goals. Right. Boise moved up and down the field. 38 first downs. They gave up 29 this past week. You got to figure Virginia's going to split the difference and get 34 first downs. They have the best quarterback they've seen. He's a dual threat and ran for 900 yards last year. So good luck. So my point being, if you're going to give up a ton of yards and points anyway, at least build towards something. Put guys out there that Florida State fans can be proud of the way they.
Yeah, no, I get it. Play young guys, but I'm trying to think. Jaleel? I understand. Jaleel's one guy you'd probably put inside linebacker if you were to move.
Sure.
Say Jay and Lars would be to the secondary, and then maybe put Hampson in some sort of hybrid role. Cornerbacks, if you stick with Stanford and Asante.
But tell him the next time he doesn't turn around on a ball where he's running even with the guy and he just lets the guy either catch it or he pushes him out of bounds for pass interference, you're off the field. You're off the field.
Put Renardo Green in.
Yeah,
Keem's not playing. Keem's playing safety. He's not playing cornerback.
Mm-hmm. Or A.J. Litton. Put anybody in. I do think Stanford Samuels has real talent. I think he could play in the next level. But his technique in this stuff is just, when does that happen to Florida State? When Florida State throws the deep ball, and I don't even think they tried one last week, maybe one, do the corners do they ever just not turn around? Do they ever just blindly push somebody out of bounds? That happened. Remember the NC State game last year?
Right, yeah.
Nothing's changed. It looked like the exact same thing.
Well, everybody was clamoring that these were not pass interference calls that Florida State was doing.
Well, they were, some of them were, some of them weren't. But the one constant with all of those calls is that they don't turn their head around and look for the ball. Whether they interfere or not, technically, they're not in position to go make a play. And it'd be cool if they were. that'd be something to see.
Yeah, the coverage grades on these guys, really nothing all that strong. Which, I guess that's maybe a little bit of the concern with Lars Woodby that I don't even know if his coverage has really been all that well playing linebacker. I don't know if will his coverage get better if he actually has to play.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him too because I think they might, he might be too big now. He's put on weight. He might be too big to be a safety at this level because he tried to bulk up to be a linebacker. But it's not cutting it. It's just not. He doesn't see it well enough to make any real impact.
I think he just doesn't have the knack for it. Again,
yeah, right.
If you watch that last touchdown that ULM score, that Louisiana Monroe scores in overtime, it's just it was like I can't even describe it. Like the linebackers diagnosed what was happening, but it was just ULM just locked them up. You got no fight from the guys. Easy touchdown run. And I don't know. There's no sort of proverbial switch that you can flip. I do want you talk about Kane Doe and Janaris right now maybe not playing at the highest of levels. So if you go to a 4-3, that puts at least one of them. Both of them are on the field because I don't think you put Dirt in it at defensive end in a 4-3. You surely don't put Marvin there. But
why not a 110 or a 1-8-2
5-5-1?
5-5-1. Yeah, sure.
Just somebody.
Just have
center field.
Have Tamorian Terry as your safety back there. He's the fastest, most rangiest guy on the team. Have him back there at safety. Put them all. Try them all out. Cam Akers, let him play. I bet he played defense some growing up.
He didn't play defense in high school, though, I don't think.
Did he not?
He was too valuable, man. He played quarterback. So.
Well, was it a big school in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Oh, I got that. Then, yeah, you can't risk that. But I bet at least 40 or 50% of those Florida State offensive players played defense. Dante Lucas, put him at tackle. That dude will move some people. He'll try anyway. Let him play both ways.
Yeah, I guess again that's the sort of the concern, man. Is just what is left to do to shake up, and it just seems like trying different things that they've already done. It doesn't feel like there's anything new they can do. Although we did tell them a couple things. Right? Move Lars Woodby to safety. Move maybe Hampson as some sort of quasi linebacker. Although you tried that, you didn't feel comfortable about it. We'll see enough. All right. Last thing to kind of talk about.
Isn't that the real problem though? Is that you look at it and you're like, well, there aren't any real answers, are there? It's not like they have some great free agents waiting to be signed. There's just you have what you have. It's trouble. You didn't practice the way that apparently you're going to play defense most of the time this year, which might be back to the 4-3. So yeah, you're in real trouble.
So do we go full war paint? Former illustrious poster on warchant.com tribal council. Are we at the point now? Do we ever open that? Do we open that lamp, rub that lamp or whatever, get the genie out of that bottle?
I don't know what the war paint reference means.
Coaches coach, players play. Are we at any point where we are resigned to the fact that this team goes 5-7? A large part of it is because it's a 5-7 roster.
Well, I sometimes am in that school, except they just lost to a team and barely beat a team that we know they have a better roster than.
Why? How do we know? Because they have better star ratings on Rivals.com?
Isn't that how we judge things? Isn't that how we judge? And not only the star rankings, who was recruiting who? I don't know how many big Power 5 schools were recruiting 80% of the players on Boise. Right. I know almost none of them were recruiting the Louis M. Monroe kids. So just using that as a gauge, you have much more talent than those two teams, especially this last week. I mean, that's an embarrassment. So that's my issue is, coaches coach, players play. So you're telling me, like, what would the score have been if you'd flipped coaching staffs? In either one of those games.
I don't know, man. Boise's pretty solid, man.
But do you think if you flipped coaching staffs that Boise still wins that game? And Louis M. Monroe still gets into overtime. So that's where the argument of coaches coach. And I'm not – these guys, all these coaches that are on Florida State's staff have proven they can coach at other spots. They did not win the lottery. This was not an essay contest where they got to be an FSU coach. They earned – most of them anyway, earned the right to be here. They have succeeded at other places. But right now, there is no argument to be made that they're a well-coached team. They have some cancerous elements that I think still remain hung over. They do. But I bet Alabama did too. I know Georgia did. I bet Florida did. It doesn't excuse it just doesn't excuse it. Because all coaches taking over a program have to deal with that. You don't get to make $5 million and then also get 4 years of benefit of the doubt. That's not how this works. That's not how this job works. It used to work that way when Frank Beamer and Bobby Bowden were young. Frank Beamer got to be at Virginia Tech 7 years before they were any good. But he was also getting paid $500,000 or $200,000. He wasn't being paid $5 million. This comes with the territory. Jimbo Fisher did not leave this place in great shape. He did not leave it like this either. He left players.
He left it. They were 5-6.
He left some players.
5-6.
Hey man, that's what I'm saying. 5-6 would be a wonder for this team right now, in my opinion. The way they look
with a win over the Gators in Gainesville.
If they could pull that off, with a win over Florida in Gainesville, then okay. But I don't foresee it that. I foresee it getting worse. I foresee it much like last year. That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, I don't want to feed the trolls on the program. I did see the tweet that Brendan Sonnone and you respond to it in a funny way. I liked it, but basically somebody tweeted out Jacob Pugh and it was like, you guys keep blaming Taggart, but this is what I see cancer still in this program.
Well, Jacob Pugh was the interview from 2017 in the midst of the disaster where I don't even remember what he said. Just they got guys that quit. Yeah. Guys that don't play hard, and that was the last time we talked to old Jacob Pugh.
Yeah. R.I.P.
It was refreshing, though. I liked it.
You made it count.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, man. Jacob Pugh's gone. Jimbo Fisher's gone. Everybody that was on that 2017 team that played defense at start is pretty much gone. And, hey, check it out. That 2017 team that you're holding up as some sort of horrible, abject failure played the same Louisiana Monroe team that this team played last week, and they absolutely smoked them.
We don't know. Louisiana Monroe might have made some big jumps in the last 2 years, Aslan. This Louisiana Monroe team might be great.
Stop it, man. I get you folks got to, this is a crusade for a lot of people to rally the wagons around Willie. And
no, it's not a lot of people. It ain't a lot of people. There's some people, but it ain't a lot of people.
The people that still want to congregate on Twitter and take shots and pull out video from 2 years ago.
Well, both can be true. It was trending in the wrong direction. It was not a good team in 2017 at all. And it had some cancerous elements. But it wasn't this bad either. Okay. Just wasn't. I mean, it just, I don't know how else to explain it. It wasn't. So, but we say that only 2 games in, and I got to keep reminding myself that we're only 2 games in. What's going on, Aslan?
My glass fell up. I got an email about something.
Oh, okay.
Which involves what we're going to talk about the last thing as we go out here. That an analyst spot seems to be back open for Florida State. It was, according to Willie, was a position that they had open earlier in the year, and is either back open. And let me see how he described it here in his transcript.
An opening for a quality control coach was listed on Florida State's website today. Is that a new position, and are you looking for somebody on a specific side of the ball?
No, it's a position that we just opened again. It was open earlier, and we opened again, and we looking to get a good coach.
Yep. So there you go. A defensive, probably quality control guy. But yeah. So look, they both can be true. Jimbo had checked out. That team was falling apart. They were 3-6 at one point, and one of those wins was Delaware State that made it 4-6. So fine, he left with a 5-6 record. It never looked like this. And you're right, that's a fair point about the guys that were on the defense in 2017. Not many of them are here anymore. And you're allowed to, but you're also allowed to have a positive impact on the players and get them to rally up for you. That happens.
You can coach them up. They can get better under your tutelage.
The guys in 2009, in 2010, a lot of them were on that awful 2009 team that had to Greg Reed punt return to beat Maryland that year. I just think it's degrees of bad. It was bad in 2017. It would appear from 2 games it has gotten even worse. That's troubling. It should start to be turning around right now. And maybe it's this week, gang. Maybe it's this week. I'm not telling you not to watch the ACC Network. Tune in. What is it, 7:30, 7:45?
7:30.
Is it a game day game? Is game day there?
I think they're waiting on a couple things to clear maybe with an SEC. Actually, no, they're not going to be there.
Where are they going to be?
Where
are they going to be?
I don't know what the good games are.
Are they in
this week.
Ames? I feel like I saw they might be in Ames, Iowa,
really?
which is crazy. That's
that
where we
where
are
we're
in college football in 2019. But they got a chance. They're only an 8-point underdog or a 7-point underdog, which seems
do you want to
outlandish.
Do you want to set Brady up for success in the future?
Moly, that just seems outlandish. But if they go up there and win, it's a huge win for this team, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If they could go up there and play like they did against Miami last year when nobody really gave them much of a chance and actually hold on and win that game, man, that would be enormous. And I'm rooting for it. I'm hoping it happens. I keep talking about this season and this coaching staff as if they've already played that game and lost it by a lot. But they haven't. So I got to save something in case that does happen. But if it doesn't, if they go up there and play well and lose by a touchdown or lose by 3 points or win by a touchdown or win by 40 points, then the whole conversation changes. But either way, this is a really big game for Willie Taggart because of what it means about the direction of this season. This is the pivot point, right? Don't
Absolutely.
you think? This is the pivot point. This is the pivot point of the season, this game.
So you think there's value in playing close, though?
Absolutely. I do. Because remember that Syracuse debacle?
Right.
That was, you had DeAndre doing his don't touch me move on the ground and with good reason because he's tired of getting touched. And that was just an utter debacle, that whole game. But if they can go up there and play close, show some competitiveness. Right?
That was the game where we really saw bad special teams too. I know the punt got blocked against Virginia Tech, but that was downing punts 10 yards, 15 yards shy of them.
Declining a penalty on Syracuse after you only had a 23-yard punt or something. There were some bad things there all around. The offense being the chief among them, but. If you can go up there and play well and be competitive, that's where we are right now, folks. I know it's weird. Go up there and be competitive. If it's a competitive game in the fourth quarter, I think that is a step. I do. But again, the psyche of this team somehow is that, say they lose that game 31-30 on a last-second field goal, or Aguayo gets it blocked from 26 yards. They might go into the tank. You know what I mean? That's how I don't know anything about this psyche. It would be a great sign to me, just me personally, if they could go up there and compete and play well and give you something to cheer for and something to believe in. If they go up there and get boat raced like they did in the Carrier Dome last year, just everybody's going to be done. And most importantly, the dudes in the locker room might be done. And that's why I asked Willie what I asked him about how do you get players to believe when none of them have ever won. None of them ever won with you. Yeah. And he said, well, his answer was like, well, they believe in me or they wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And, the obvious retort to that is, well, half of them believe in you. The other half were here. You inherited. They didn't come to play for you. So I don't know that they do believe in you. But yeah, maybe they re-recruited him. But I just think that would go a long way. Wouldn't that go a long way to the guys in the locker room too if they go up there and have a game plan?
They need to see something good. They need
a signature something. They need
good
it.
About something.
So that's why I think it's such a big game, man.
Yeah, I don't think there's any good feeling about Boise State I don't think you can feel good about that.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not if they'd have gone out there and beaten Louisiana Monroe 49-6,
right.
You'd have felt good about that Boise State game. Not anymore.
And especially, and I don't know how much they look at it too, but the fact that 14-7 they beat Marshall at home.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, man,
short week though, man. Short week, and that's a good Marshall. That's a good Marshall team.
Yeah, Doc. What's the Doc Holliday? Doc Holliday and the Thundering Herd. Something like 50% of their rosters from the state of Florida.
Is that true?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh well.
All right, let's go.
Can we pick? We got to do something more positive. Can we do something more positive tomorrow? I don't. And maybe I'm just thinking too. I'm thinking too much about it. I don't feel like people tune into us and hear me specifically to be angry. I don't think they like angry Corey. I might be wrong. What do you think?
I don't think you're that angry, Corey. I mean, I think people come in here to hear what we.
Well, they want to hear truth bombs, number one, and they want to hear me spit fire.
Hot fire.
And I spit fire. Yeah. That's what I do.
Dylon.
Would you say that's the best? This is really, I don't know how many people even that listen to this know that show real well, but I think that might have been my favorite Chappelle Show skit.
Oh, no. I mean, that was a good one.
Making the band, and he needs the warm milk of a Nepalese woman, or I'm shutting down the
Cambodian.
studio. Oh,
Cambodian breast milk.
Yeah, I'm shutting down the studio. And he's eating those sugar cookies.
I'm no sugar cookie getter.
Well, I don't know. The Wayne Brady one probably is the best
Brady's
one.
Good. The black white supremacist was great.
Yeah.
Blind guy. They're all fantastic. Man, the Rick James stuff was amazing.
Well, okay. So I guess my top three are the Wayne Brady, the Prince, and then the Making the Band spinoff. That was fun. The Real World too was funny.
Mad Real World.
Sorry, this has devolved into a Chappelle Show skit, but hey, at least it gives us something to laugh about,
positive,
and feel good about.
Positive. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk to Kendall, get a feel of the offense. Sure, we'll get some sort of good vibes about how that's coming along. Maybe I'll do some research and see how maybe week 3 things turn in year 1 of Kendall Browse's offenses. Maybe at FAU and Houston last year. Maybe
I feel like more people want to hear about week 3 of Harlan Barnett defenses. Right?
Well, yeah. It doesn't have. There's not a lot to really look back on though.
What'd you make of him saying that he thought James played better?
I found that a bit interesting.
Yeah,
I thought he played really good at Boise. I would take the Boise State performance over the Louisiana Monroe performance. He turned the ball over once against Boise State. He had 2 picks and a fumble.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to blame him for the pick. The first one.
Go,
yeah, I mean that's obviously not. Was he asked about that, by the way? I feel like I even asked you this yesterday.
He mentioned after the game he did say it was communication, but he didn't say who.
But the way he reacted afterwards, it seemed like we knew, and who they went and talked to and who got benched on the next series. Right. It wasn't the quarterback. So, hey, in 15, I'm with you, man. I know you listen to the show. I know you're a big fan.
Love you, man.
Run deep every play. I don't care what they tell you to do, and I don't care what that corner's doing. Yeah. Run deep. It's what they've thrown 1 deep ball to him and 2 games. That's been my biggest disappointment with Kendall Browse so far.
Well, let's ask him about that. Let's hold his feet to the fire. Are we going to do something here with this guy? We're going to utilize his full skill set?
Now, in fairness, he did have a pretty post-pass touchdown called back because of Ryan Roberts being downfield for some reason.
Oh, gosh, that's right.
But man, that guy, against Louisiana Monroe, you're not doing it. Right. I think Virginia's got a really good cornerback, too.
They do.
Maybe they'll just move him all over the field. It'll be like a Xavier Rhodes, Julio Jones matchup. Yeah.
Well, isn't it Xavier?
It is now. In fact, they talked about it on the podcast. Or on the broadcast he wanted to be Xavier, which absolutely X.
Yeah.
It's not Zavier. Right. It's X. Yeah, I like that. Hopefully the school will hear and change their name too.
Okay, cool. All right,
we did it, gang. We did it. We talked ourselves into it.
Good note to go out on. We'll be back tomorrow. Get your questions posted on the tribalcouncilofwarchant.com for the Renegade Express. I'll go down Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow, though, folks. Have a great one. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks for listening.
Unlike fanny packs, bowl cuts, and troll dolls, the sensation is back, only at Zaxby's. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich features hand-breaded chicken, Asian slaw, wonton strips, and citrus vinaigrette, and both are served with an egg roll. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich meal for a limited time only at Zaxby's. And skip the line when you order ahead on the Zaxby's app or on Zaxby's.com.